Hey everybody, Mike Slifer here in the First Alert Forecast Center. We'll give you a quick breakdown of what we're going to be covering on this First Alert Weather Extra. We'll talk a bit about what we saw today for heat and thunderstorms, how we get a bit of a break tomorrow before more wet weather is in the forecast, impacting part of the weekend, prompting another First Alert weather day. But it's next week when the heat ramps right back up, prompting even more First Alert weather days. And we're going to cover it all right now, right here, streaming on WFSB Plus and on YouTube. And that's what we will chat about for the next 10 minutes. Let's jump right into some of the storm reports we saw today. So the storm reports mainly focused on parts of Litchfield and New Haven County. The greater Waterbury area especially saw a lot of those. We can zoom in here and show you a little more closely what we're talking about. And a lot of this was related to thunderstorm wind damage, things like that. Greater Waterbury area, toward Naugatuck, and then out closer to, say, parts of Wallingford, but also throughout southern Litchfield County and across the northwesternmost parts of Connecticut. So we certainly saw some impressive wind gusts with those storms, which brought down trees, power lines, and this picture was snapped by Karen on 395, where the exit for 169 is in Lisbon. Take a look at the power lines. They're smoldering on the side of the road. So unfortunately, this was not an uncommon scene in parts of the state earlier this evening. Some good news to pass along is Connecticut's only live radar, First Alert Live Radar, showing everything winding down. We have a couple of rogue showers moving through the quiet corner right now, but things are certainly trending in the right direction. We're done with the daytime heating. We've lost a lot of our heat, maybe not a lot of our humidity, and that's just caused a lot of these storms to wind down. The other storms that we were tracking earlier have since moved well offshore, so we're not too concerned here for the rest of the night. In fact, we think that things are going to clear up pretty nicely for the rest of the night. Temperatures right now, mainly in the 70s, with a bit of an offshore wind direction. Boston actually still coming in at 83 degrees, 85 in New York City. We're at 79 in Hartford, 77 Portland, Maine. Dew points are starting to drop a little bit, though. You have to really zoom out in order to see the relief. It's mostly across parts of, say, western Maine and northern New England, but we do expect eventually the dew points to drop. However, we are still talking about oppressive levels of humidity right now. Dew points well into the 70s. This is about as high as we see them around here. So we've talked about that already this summer. Our hottest days were actually in June last year. We had a high temperature of 99 on the 24th, 98 on the 25th. And we have certainly seen our fair share of humidity this summer too. But very, very, very humid outside. So that makes these temperatures right now between 75 and 80 degrees actually still feel a little bit warmer than that. So something else to keep in mind here. We are still running about 1, 2, maybe 3 degrees higher right now than yesterday at this point in time. But earlier, we were much, much hotter. In fact, almost every town made it to 90 at least today, with the exception of Groton, where we had a high temperature of 88 degrees. We'll focus on the Hartford area. We made it to 95. Bridgeport, actually, we made it to 94. So we actually did break the record in Bridgeport. That's some new data there. We'll take it back to that map quickly. 94, Bridgeport, and New Haven. So that certainly is the latest and greatest data there. So record warmth happened in Bridgeport today. We fell short for the Hartford area. Here's a live look at our iCam in Torrington. Certainly a lot quieter than what we saw earlier today. Our iCam view in Waterbury showing the West Main Street has dried up pretty nicely. We've got somebody walking on the green right now, 78 degrees. We'll take it live to Bradley International, where it's currently 80. The peak wind gust today at Bradley, 37 miles per hour. And a live look at our iCam in Middletown. A little bit of lingering cloud cover out there, but we become mostly clear as the night progresses, so we are expecting things to be fairly bright around the start of the day tomorrow. We're overlooking the green live right now in New Haven, where it's currently 80 degrees. Winds are variable at 3 miles per hour, dry, and the ferry loading docks in New London dry too. Now, we don't really have to worry too much about heat tomorrow. In fact, we'll show you the heat risk map for tomorrow just to sort of compare it to where we were today. Minor impacts across the state. How is it going to feel tomorrow? Well, it's going to feel fairly true to the temperatures, feeling more like, say, the mid and upper 80s, because that's where temperatures will peak. So certainly much closer to where you might expect things to be for this time of year. And that'll be a nice rebound. We're expecting to settle in the mid and upper 60s over night tonight, upper 60s, lower 70s, mostly clear skies. Certainly less humid out there. Not quite cool enough to open up the windows, but it is certainly cooler than where we were last night. And temperatures tomorrow topping out mid and upper 80s throughout most of inland Connecticut. So feeling perhaps warm, seasonably so, but nothing quite like what we dealt with today with heat index values into the low triple digits. That might change later next week. Just a little tease there. We'll revisit that in a second. Along the shoreline, bit of an onshore wind, keeping temps closer to 80 degrees, but just inland we start to see more mid, even upper 80s. And it's going to be a fairly bright day tomorrow, too. So if you have plans to head to the beach, or if you want to hang out poolside, or perhaps you're just spending time outdoors, make sure you keep the sunscreen nearby. Dew points going from the 70s right now down into the 50s tomorrow, so very pleasant. That's why tomorrow's going to feel so nice. High pressure in control, nothing to worry about. Late tomorrow night, as high pressure moves offshore, our wind starts to shift to be back out of the southwest again. That will increase our risk for some rain on Sunday. So we are expecting some rain to begin the day and perhaps some thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening. Sunday is another first alert weather day. Rain will impact your outdoor plans, but some of those stronger storms, should they actually materialize, could certainly affect your plans too. The severe threat on Sunday is really favoring, say, the western half of Connecticut. We'll say along and west of the Connecticut River, but we could see this shift around a bit. We likely will. Make sure you tune back in with Jill Gilardi and Scott Gagliardi over the course of the weekend. And should there be any big updates, they, of course, will be the first to alert you. We'll show you the zoomed-in view here on Sunday. Now, this is subject to change a little bit when it comes to timing, but basically we're waking up to mostly cloudy skies with showers ongoing, continuing through at least the early to mid-afternoon, and then we might see some thunderstorms later on in the day, too. So we'll be watching this very closely, and we will continue to provide updates as we get a bit closer. So tomorrow, 88. We're at 82 on Sunday. It's cooler out there, but the humidity ramps up a little bit. However, we turn muggy on Monday. Heat index values, 95 to 100. A first alert weather day. Tuesday, 95 inland. Heat index values up over 100. So another first alert weather day. And Wednesday, we might see some isolated storms out there. We're forecasting 93 Wednesday, back into the lower 80s at the end of next week. Humidity will also drop off significantly by the end of next week. Even along the shoreline, we're going 90s Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So for our part of the country, 3 days in a row at or above 90 would be a heat wave. Let's take it to the heat risk map for Monday. We see moderate to major impacts, and then as we get into Tuesday, the heat peaks. The humidity is expected to reach oppressive levels. Look at the heat risk map here. Major impacts almost across the entire state. So we certainly think that Tuesday is going to be the more impactful day, but either way, it does look like we will be battling more heat and more humidity. On Monday, to break it all down, it's really the impacts to your outdoor plans, feeling like it's 95 to 100. But Tuesday, as we near that record warmth, as you add in the humidity with heat index values back up, if not over 100 degrees, that will not only impact outdoor plans, but also brings heat-related illness back into discussion. So certainly a concern there. This could be our third heat wave of 2025, though, so we'll be watching that very closely, specifically for the Hartford area. And that means we'll likely be adding to our tally here. We have 15 days at or above 90 for the Hartford area. We added one today. And we're expecting to add 3 next week. So that'll perhaps bring our total to 18. Now, in a typical year, we see 20. So we're certainly approaching average. We will see what happens at the beginning of August, because our average high temperatures from here on out, at least until the middle of January, will be falling. So yesterday, our average high was 86. Today, 85. By September 2nd, it's 80. By September 29th, 70. And by October 24th, 60. So in about 3 months, our average high temperature will be 60 degrees. So we really start to see those larger swings in average temperature as we get into our shoulder seasons. It's April in the spring. It's October in the fall. That's when our average high temperature sometimes falls by a degree every 2 to 3 days. So we see that rate of change really pick up. And then, of course, that rate of change will slow down as we get into the colder months, December, January, and February. But perhaps fall is your thing. The 8 to 14 day outlook here, which brings us into the beginning of August, is showing the higher likelihood the temperatures actually remain below average. Now, we don't know just how much they're going to be below average, but signals are that perhaps this average high of 85 on August 1st may not actually be reached. By the end of the month, average high is 81 for the Hartford area, average low is 59, and in typical August, we see 4.21 inches of rain. We've certainly had some very wet Augusts previously. We will see how August 2025 treats us. And here is the graphic that maybe not everybody loves. 2 weeks from today is our last 8 p.m. sunset of the year. By August 16th, sunrise is back in the 6 o'clock hour, and by September 15th, sunsets are slipping into the 7 o'clock hour. A lot of change. We start to lose daylight much more quickly throughout September and October. On the First Alert 7-day forecast, one final check. Plenty of heat and humidity here over the next 7 days. It's not until Thursday next week, July 31st, Friday, August 1st, where we really start to see those temperatures drop back. Still maybe some minor tweaking on the forecast there for Sunday, given the timing differences. But either way, your first alert that things will be a bit unsettled Sunday, and then the heat and humidity are back next week. Be sure to tune in on the Wax in 20 minutes at 10 p.m. and again on Channel 3 tonight at 11 for much more forecast information. Not only that, but we will be bringing you updates throughout the course of the weekend. The free First Alert Weather app will be a great thing to have downloaded and used to reference over the weekend. We'll have another First Alert Weather Extra streaming live on WFSB Plus and YouTube at 8 a.m. Monday. Join us then. Have a great weekend.